When we work with Prisma in pretty much any project that we've got, we are starting with a data model. We want to go into schema.prisma. We want to model out our tables, all of the fields on those tables, and any kind of relations between tables that we've got. And this sort of becomes the source of truth for our database. We might have a brand new project where we establish all of our models from scratch, or we might have an existing database that we want to introspect to pull down a data model. Whatever the case might be, this is the place that we're generally working from as kind of the source of truth. On the Drizzle side, it's a little bit different, where we still do establish some schema, some modeling, but it is less of the source of truth for our database and is more a way to describe various ways that we might access our database. And we'll see how all of that shakes out and what that means. To begin with, though, let's start modeling out a quick database here in our schema.prisma file, and this will give us something to work with to take a look at how Prisma works versus Drizzle. All right, so what we'll do here is I've pasted in some modeling. It's a very simple database that we'll be working with here. We've got a post table, a user table, and a category table. And we've got relations between all three of these tables. Really simple fields that you'd expect: title, content, author, etc. And the reason that we're working with these three models here is that it's a really quick and simple way to see the three kinds of relations that we might want to look at. So one-to-one relations, one-to-many relations, and many-to-many relations. All right, so let's save this, and now we can run some commands to get our modeling that we've got here represented in our database in some new tables. Down here in the command line, we can run npx prisma db push. So this is different from Prisma migrate, where we establish some migration records. Instead here, we're just pushing directly into the database, and this is a good way for us to just do some quick work here in development. All right, looks like things are good here. Let's see if this all worked out as expected and if we are able to access the database. We can do npx prisma studio. Looks like Prisma Studio is up and running. We can take a look at it here, and there are three tables in there, just like we'd expect: category, post, and user. All right, so things are looking good there. What we should do now is get some data into this database so that we can have something to work with. Prisma comes with a very useful feature where we can seed a database. And to do that, let's do the following. Let's come in here to our Prisma directory and create seed.ts. And I'm going to paste over a bunch of code that I have prepared. This is going to be in the GitHub repo for the series. So if you want to take a look at it, you can feel free. But essentially, we are calling this main function where we create a user. We create two users, in fact. And then we get some categories for our posts, and then just create some random posts like this. So just some looping to create some data in our database. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll try to seed the database. If we do npx prisma db seed, which is the command to seed the database, we're going to get this error. And the issue is that we have to put something into our package.json file that tells Prisma seed essentially what to do. So there are two ways to do this. If we are not using ES modules, we can use ts node against prisma/seed.ts. That's where our file is. But if we are using ES modules, which we are doing here in this project, then it looks a little bit different: ts node/esm with some other options here for node. So what we can do actually is just copy all of this. Let's go into package.json and let's put that right there. I'll bump this over. And there's going to be our seed command, essentially. And then we've got instructions here to install some dependencies. We can do that. This will be installed then as a set of dev dependencies. And after those install, we should be able to run that command to seed the database. All right, so let's try that again. npx prisma db seed. We do get an error here. We might need to set the module type here in our package.json. Let's try that. We can do type. And let's do module. All right, let's try again. All right, seed command went through. Everything's been executed. Let's come over again to our Prisma Studio, refresh there, and we have got some data. So we've got our two users, Jane Doe, John Doe, and we should have some posts for each of them, and we've got some categories against those posts. All right, so now everything's in place for our Prisma schema. We've got data in there against the schema. Next, we're going to get some data in place for our Drizzle database, and for that, we're going to use a SQL script. So let's take a look at that next.